Hi, sister. I'm going to give you some feedback on your learning targets. I think you have a really good start here for what you have for your stated learning targets, and I'm going to give you some tips as I go along. Now, I'm looking at your topic or your subject. It's religious education. That's fine, and I see your topic, freedom and community, which is fine as well. Um, just if you could for me, give me a little more description for what this unit would be. Um, I know I've read a couple that students have given what the prerequisite is. Actually, it says it's the first topic in grade 9, so there really wouldn't be a prerequisite because this is the first topic for religious education. But if you could just give me a little more description here as well. Now I'm going to jump right down to your learning targets here at the bottom. If we look at the first one, students will explain what freedom is. You're going to have to think of down the line is how they're going to explain this. Are they going to do it orally? Are they going to do it in an essay? When I see the word explain, that's where my mind goes to for showing their knowledge for that learning target. The next one, students will describe the types of freedoms by giving concrete examples. I'm assuming when I look above under your expected outcomes, you're referring to freedom from, freedom to, and freedom for. And I'm assuming that you would want them to just give an example for each one. So that one you might want to rethink. I can see 2 here, students will describe the types of freedoms, and you could have one, students will give an example of each type of freedom. So that's just something to think about as well. I see the next one, you have a performance task here, which is good. Students will do a role play. That the word role play is telling me that this is going to be some type of performance task. Students will do a role play to illustrate how freedoms of different something, I think there's a word that needs to be there, maybe different individuals. If I'm looking above your expected outcomes, how freedoms of different individuals clash and how they can be resolved. That one sounds okay. That's going to be. I can see that you'll use that down the line when we have to do a performance. When you have to create a performance assessment. The next one, students will explain what is meant by more freedom, more problems. That's fine. Again, I'm seeing that it's going to be either oral or some type of written explanation. And students will state and illustrate teachings of the Bible about freedom and how people should live. So I'm thinking about this one, and when I see the word illustrate, and that you have that on the third one as well. I guess you mean to show. When I think of the word illustrate, sometimes I think of drawings, but I think you're intending the meaning here is to show, which is fine as well. When I'm looking up here, going back to your expected outcomes, and I see some of them reflected in your learning targets, which is good. I also see some that maybe aren't addressed. And even though I see that even the wording for these expected outcomes almost reflect what a learning target could be as well. For instance, I'm looking at number 7 here up there. How could you turn that into a learning target? Same thing with 8. I'm not sure that I see that below reflected. So that's something I would recommend that you do, is look up at those expected outcomes. And believe it or not, I do see, the wording of those could fit in with your learning, with creating a learning target, and see which additional ones you can put. And I know part of the assignment was I only said you needed 5 for this assignment. So maybe you were leaning towards adding more for the forum, you only needed to post 5 for the forum, and for the assignment, you need at least 8. So maybe your intent was to go back to look at the expected outcomes and add some for the learning targets. So when you're doing that, just start thinking ahead that you have these learning targets and you have to have some way to measure them. And if you remember on page, what page was it? I believe on page, excuse me, on page 60 on our text, you have all the different ways that you can measure a learning target. So you want to think too, you don't want to measure everything in the same way. You don't want everything to be an oral explanation or an essay, that you're going to be required to make up some multiple choice questions, to do some performance tasks and whatnot. So just think ahead in that way for what different methods you're going to use. So again, good job overall. And if you need any clarification or if you have any questions, let me know.